All right, when I was getting ready for this message, and I was really trying to figure out what were the lessons that I've experienced in 2020, what am I hearing? What am I hearing from my friends? What am I hearing from my community and my family? And I kept hearing these re's, like reflect, review. And what I came up with was like, instead of looking back in all of this as a negative place, what if we could reimagine that this year has actually happened for us? And it was fascinating for me this morning when we were all talking about what kind of your lessons were and what you've experienced, and this conversation about shedding the past and the disintegration of structures. Because what I was thinking about when I started down this path of reimagining is how important it is to get quiet often before we have big expansion. And I don't know if you know about this, but there's these cells called imaginal cells. And when I first heard about them, I thought, what an interesting thing. And imaginal cells are what cause a cocoon to actually break, for a caterpillar to move from being a caterpillar to a butterfly. And I want to spend a lot of time explaining that to you because you guys all get it. But if you think about the concept of being a caterpillar and what that's all about and who you be as a caterpillar, and to go into a cocoon and completely surrender, and to think about the magic of what must happen to come out on the other side as a completely different species. It's pretty fascinating stuff, right? And I think that there's something about what's happening for a lot of us, specifically in this community, as we're being called for our leadership, as we're being called to expand, and we are living really a lot in the not knowing, right? We don't know how, we don't know what those next steps look like. But what we do know is this, we're a mature community of people. So we've been through some things. And I was thinking about, I grew up in Florida, I grew up in Miami, and I don't know if any of you have experienced this necessarily in the form of a hurricane, but what's fascinating is when a hurricane comes through, in the center of the hurricane, there's an eye, right? So there's like, the winds are kind of like softer on the outside and you move closer to the middle and they get stronger and stronger and stronger. And the most deaths occur during the eye of a hurricane. And the reason that is because as the storm is passing over, so you've got this eye here, the storm is kind of passing over the land. In the middle of the storm, it's silent. And many people will go outside thinking that the storm is over. And the storm isn't over. When it comes across, it whacks you hard with the most powerful wind when it comes across again, right? So if you're outside, it's very dangerous. I've been thinking about what's been happening with COVID and how we felt like it was devastating, right? And we were in the storm, and then it got a little quieter, and we kind of were hopeful and thinking that it was over, but it wasn't. And we listened to the science. We knew that this next wave on the other side of the eye was coming. And it's okay, because guess what happens next? What happens next is that the storm passes over. And then we all get to kind of come out of our houses and come out of our little cocoons with new awarenesses and new eyesight and new vision. And things will look very different when we come out. This is the thing that I want to share with you. It's not a scary thing. It's the things that have served their purpose, the things that have been here for us now have been cleaned away in many, many ways. And I'm preaching a little bit to the choir because this is a community of women who are very evolved and very conscious in their choices, in their calling. But what I want to remind you is that because we are a community of leaders, there's a whole lot of humans on the planet who are really in survival mode. They're really scared. They're looking for leadership. They're looking for guidance. And so now more than ever, as we come out of our cocoons, as we start to expand our wings, as we start to understand our roles as leaders in a new way of being, it's more important than ever that we have patience, that we have compassion, that we have grace, and that we remember that we're not alone and that none of this is happening in a vacuum. It's happening for our entire species. There's no way COVID would have touched the entire planet if it wasn't a shift for us as a species and a shift for humanity. This is our opportunity as leaders, as the storm passes and we come out, to really remember that we've got this. And the way that we can support one another is through listening and being kinder and receiving the new gifts that are coming in. There's going to be all kinds of things happening right now. For those of you that follow astrology, there's a thing called, I wrote it down so I would remember. Some of them are calling it the grand, somebody will have to tell me this, the grand conjunction. And some astrologers are calling it the Grand Mutation. That's why I had to write it down. So there's a whole shift that's happening astrologically. There's a shift, obviously, that's happening right here on this planet for us. But I want to remind you that Einstein has a quote that I think is very powerful. The significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking that created them. A new type of thinking is essential if mankind is to survive and move towards higher levels. What's happening is happening for us. Those of us that are here after the storm are here for a reason. And those of us that are called for leadership have an opportunity right now to really be present to all that is happening and evolving on behalf of humanity. You guys know, if you know me, been friends for a while, I love Joel Osteen. He's one of my favorite ministers out there. And one of the things that he says frequently is have the rest of your life be the best of your life. If we're looking at what do we want to experience in 2021, there'll be things that will be beyond our control, just like there always is. But there'll be a lot that we can take charge of. There's a lot that we can own if we're willing to be responsible, if we're willing to get focus, if we're willing to recommit or newly commit to the things that matter to us. And I just want to let you know that I'm here for you. If there's any way I can support you as you decide what that new adventure is, remember you're not alone. No one gets there by themselves. We get there together. We get there by sharing resources, by sharing experiences, and you've got this. Don't be afraid of what's on the other side of the storm. What's on the other side is fresh. It's new. You're coming out of the cocoon. All of the things that are feeling unknown are just new for you. That's all. But you've got this. So I'm looking forward to being with you in 2021 and beyond. And I'm very grateful that we're on this journey together.